You are listening to That Big CEO Energy, where we talk all things business, life, marriage, and push you to a new edge of discovering what that big CEO energy means for you. Listen, I understand that we have barriers that we carry from when we were once employees, and those have impacted us as we continue to build our businesses. I'm here to walk alongside you and give you encouragement through interviews with friends and other women in business who have broken down those barriers and paved their own way. Tune in with me as we uncover some of the unconscious things that we do that keep us from building that big CEO energy we've always dreamed about. Let's dive in. Welcome back. I am so excited to introduce this series to you. If you have been on a path of self-discovery or just feeling like you need a change or feeling like maybe you're at a point in your business that is requiring change or pivot from you, then I welcome you to join me in this series. I have taken a leap of faith to move into a different part of my business, a different kind of calling. And I'm not sure what that looks like. I'm not sure what it will turn out to be, if it'll even evolve into anything. But what I know for sure is that it's requiring some inner work from me. And if nothing else, this is a self-development, self-improvement journey that is now part of my business development. So I hope that you will join me and take this little journey with me. And I hope that you'll get some inner peace and some self-discovery from me opening up about my journey for this inner work. I hope that you enjoyed the first session of the Inner Work Soul Journey series. And if you didn't have a chance to go and listen to it, go back and listen to it. But this session is just as powerful. And we first talked about just sort of the magic that can happen and what the magic looks like. You know, when we are in a coaching space or in a personal development journey, we always are looking for the pivotal point of what is the magic behind what a coach or a mentor or that person is doing for you. What magic is uncovered? And so I want to just insert this little clip of me trying to decipher what the magic is. And then we moved into a period of walking through this ultimate resistance of the word coach and afraid of being in the coaching pool with everything else and ultimately not wanting to fail. I talk about the easy parts of my business, right? The things that just come naturally easy to me. And I think we all have that tendency of, I don't want to lean into something different because what I'm doing right now is so easy. And even though we have these feelings of, I have burnout or I don't want to keep doing something, we don't yearn long enough or stretch ourselves further enough to understand that the difficult thing that we are wanting and needing to lean into is just waiting for us on the other side. And so there is this moment, right, where pivoting is not going to be easy. Listen in.
So what do you need to create in terms of this offering so that they step into that role that you're looking for them to step into?
I would say guidelines, but that's not the right word. There has to be, and you're a copy wizard, you know this. There has to be something in the copy that makes them feel like they are empowered enough by themselves that they come and they're like, okay, I know that she will help me through this. But I also know that by the end of this, I'm going to be able to do this by myself. Like I can do this by myself.
So then what is the training actually for them? If that is what's taking place, what are you doing for them? If that is what is being executed through your work together.
I don't like the word help. I'm trying to find a different word, but it is sort of a transformation, right? Where they're showing up in one way and hopefully, quote unquote, leaving in another.
What would we call that process?
I don't want to use the word coaching. I don't want to.
You don't have to.
But it is. I mean, it is. Let's just call it a duck at the end of the day. I don't like that word. I don't know why. I don't know. Like I think because it's so overused. And I also think the word coach also means hand-holding in a little bit of a way, you know, like, and I know that like you also wrestle with this word. So like you're on board with sort of my train of thought. It just feels like I'll always need someone to handhold me when somebody says, I'm going to coach you. And it's like, well, when I think about a coach in sports, right? They're with you every day. They're with you every step of the way. They're sort of like manipulating little things that you're doing, right? But they're with you the whole entire time. They're watching you. They're guiding you. They're doing all of these things. And it's like, that is great for that. But using the word coach in a space where it's like, I'm giving you a platform to lift off of so that you feel empowered to like keep walking that walk by yourself or with your team or whatever. And you end up being the mentor, the coach, whatever that is in the business, the leader, right? You get to show up that way. We're leading them. So I don't want to use the word coach literally in anything that I am presenting because I don't want to get the idea of like, I can just come back to Callie when shit gets tough and she'll fix it and she'll make it all better. Or she'll reframe my mind in such a way that like, I'll be different. I'll be renewed and I'll just be fixed, right? Like I'm not a fixer, but I can give you things so that you can do this on your own. And I think getting people to that independence and feeling like they can do it because they have been given tools, like that's my jam. It's not like, I don't want people to get the wrong idea that like, I have a coach and she's just going to make me feel all better. And it's like, well, there's a lot of fucking work that you have to do. Like, I'm sorry. I can't just tell you to do something and then you're going to magically do it. And then X, Y, Z is done.
I mean, even just to spend a second there, if that is not the best service of the client.
Right.
That's not because I'm kind of curious to know, in your opinion, where is the magic created for that person? So let's imagine we're zooming in on this exact transformation that you've been talking about, these two different ways that this shows up for someone. You've got someone in front of you who's like the real ideal client for that transformation. And you're saying, I can help you figure out how to be all the things that are a part of what you want to see them doing for themselves. Where does the magic exist? Because you said it's in the tools. Curious to know if that's what you really believe. So let me use the coaching metaphor for a second, because I also think it's interesting that the vision that you have of coach is this ongoing person who's constantly with somebody. When you said coach and we went into a sports way, I immediately went to a place of thinking about how someone who's in, let's say, a pro sport, that person has had many coaches. That person had to have the very first coach ever to see them as a player. to like really look at that person. Maybe this is like the Hollywood coaching movies come back flooding through my mind as I think about this example, right? But somebody told this person, like, there's potential in you. You have something. Work hard here. Somebody built a connection with each of those players who are on the field in a professional capacity, instilling values in them of hard work, perseverance. Some people planted that inner empowerment, that motivation within somebody. Those coaches maybe aren't contacting with that person every single day. But the place that I went when I thought of coaching in that sports way is how many different coaches had to shape that player's experience and how what that coach was able to bring forward in that person stays with them forever, long after they move on. And so it's the work that's done and the seeds that get planted through that coaching process and what that player got to learn about themselves that then doesn't set them up to need that coach with them every day on that field in the same way. So back to that question of where that magic happens when you're envisioning that transformation for somebody that you might be doing, where's the magic? Where does it happen? Where does it show up in that journey? I don't think it's every day.
No, I think it's in the time that we spend together. It's reframing what you have historically been taught or absorbed or whatever, and working through that mess to sort of unpack what has happened to you in a corporate life, right? Like, why do you have resistance in whatever areas those are? Maybe the resistance is, I don't want to hire employees because my boss was awful to me and I don't ever want to feel like that. I don't ever want to treat people like that. And I'm afraid that because I've had all of these things ingrained in me over years of abuse working in toxic environments, that I will be that person. And so I think the magic happens is understanding that they can write their story differently. They can have a business that they really love and they really enjoy, and also have a team of people to help them without feeling like they have to be micromanagers too. They have to, be consistently looking over everybody's shoulder, rather than allowing people to help them that have a zone of genius that's different. That's sort of like the big thing that is coming to the front of my brain, is only because I've heard it multiple times and have reworked, a few of my clients that are like, I'm terrified of hiring people because I feel like I don't know how to manage them. Or if I have managed people before, it's always turned out to be a train wreck. And I'm now recognizing that I'm the problem. So I think the magic is just kind of unfucking that area of people, to where they, by the end of whatever the experience is, they feel like, okay, I have some good solid ground.
That good solid ground, that feeling. What is that? What is that in a word?
Capable.
Okay. Yeah.
Authentic. Ready.
We think about those. Yeah. Keep going. There's more to this transformation. Oh my gosh.
But I think those 4 solid words of, and I don't know if empowered's a word because that's kind of a buzzword too, but I'm sure I could find one, but feeling like they can, I just keep thinking about that. It's like, you can show up differently. You don't have to do what every manager in society is doing, which is awful. You don't have to treat people that way. You don't have to. And I think uncovering some of the unconscious bias, right, that they naturally show up with, of how they feel like businesses should be run. In this next part of our coaching call, we walked through yet again. I feel like this comes up in every call that we have because it is an important part of kind of uncovering sort of what I feel is reluctant, right, to hold me back into like this next phase of who I am and who I'm becoming. But it was this disdain for social media. And we're jumping in sort of the last part of a sentence. So hang with me here. And it transitions well into sort of my overall desire for impact. And really just wanting to work with other women who want to change, who want to move out of this corporate mindset and out of this doer, executor into more of a leadership, but really it's leading themselves first and being prepared for getting rid of some of the things that we developed in corporate that, maybe we didn't work in corporate, but we worked in a really awful job. And now it's showing up in different ways throughout our businesses. And there is a moment here that we talk about what this word coaching or what this experience of coaching can mean from an authenticity space. So I'll let you listen to those clips here.
But it's still like that underlying, like, what if I fail? What if this all just sucks? And I hate being on social media and I hate, like, I just hate it. I hate it so much.
Yeah.
I love my podcast because it's just me and my microphone. And like, I haven't even put anything on my social media, and like people are still listening to my podcast. So, I mean, if nothing else, like that's proof in the pudding right there that I don't have to show up every single day. I can show up when it feels good. But then it's like, when does it ever feel good? Because it never does. I have a huge, social media is just, for me, just an awful, awful place.
What do you feel that you have to be on social media?
I think it's just a struggle with being my true self. Because I don't know, I think it's just probably my whole life I've struggled with that. Like, how could I possibly show up as myself and people will like me? And if what I'm saying is resonating, like, again, it's that comparison of I did this one side of my business and it was successful literally overnight. And this other part is going to be a struggle, and I have to be vulnerable and I have to show up as my true self, because that's the only way that I'm going to get people to also be inspired to do that. And it's like, well, what is that? I think sometimes even in my personal life, I struggle with what brings me joy? What brings me happiness? Because I've been a mom for 17 years. I'm just now finding new things that I want to do. And so I'm also sort of peeling back the onion layer. And I think there's a little bit of imposter syndrome that creeps up that says, you're not there yet. So you don't have any business talking to people about this.
Yeah. How could you coach someone before your life is perfect?
Right.
How could you coach someone unless you have found every answer you've ever been searching for in your own life? Quote, imposter syndrome, right?
Right.
Right. And I think that you've been getting a little creative with ways to be the coach that I think exists in you. As much as you reject that word, I had to go through a period where I used the word mentor to just feel that I could do the type of work. But when you said capable, authentic, ready, and empowered, it's almost like you've been doing some crafty work on the inside saying, how can I make someone feel that? How can I coach someone to find that within themselves? but only by highlighting and focusing on the tools that I offer, the knowledge that I offer, the systems, the approaches, which is a distance to what you had to give to someone in terms of what makes them find that capability within themselves. What makes someone feel vulnerable enough to uncover what's authentic for them? What makes someone feel ready themselves on the inside? How there's a desire within you. I see that coming through, this desire to help people do that for them. And I see it actually showing up in, maybe it feels almost like one of your, maybe the way that it's being presented right now within is that that's something that is like a negative pattern in you that you want to like send people out. I see that as a real confirmation of a desire to work with people, to transform them using what you know, using your gifts, your skills, and have them go out and do what's next. And that you're not trying to build a coaching business where someone needs to have you hold their hand and need you forever. That shows me a real desire for impact. These are all things I'm not supposed to say as a coach. I'm only supposed to ask you questions about your experience, right? But I can't help but, and you know what? Listen, when I learned coaching stuff, what coaches are supposed to do, this is one thing that coaches aren't supposed to do, but it's also a thing that I have felt like, okay, but when I'm working with people, sometimes it's the way that an analogy shows up or the way that something shows up that I recognize, okay, maybe it's outside a little bit of that box of what a coach is supposed to do, but that's the role where I find kind of like my spot and my power. And so the tools and the systems and the approaches that you know, there's such a desire to bring that into the lives of other people. But it's almost like there's this first chapter that needs to happen here, which is the way that you show up as this capable, like authentic, empowered version of you to be the one to do that for other people. There's a surrendering that's going to need to happen on the inside, which says, I have something that I can offer to people, and I don't need my life to be perfect before I can give that to someone else.
This next part, we get really, really juicy. And I love that Laura takes a detour off of what is the coaching norm and sort of showcases talking about how my personal growth is now my business. And this word surrendering just keeps showing up. And I am just sort of in awe, even listening back to this, about how much surrendering I have to do in this new journey that other people who are leaving corporate or are struggling in their business, how much surrendering that is not happening that ultimately needs to be done. And so Laura and I just have this very beautiful moment where she gets on her soapbox and I soak every single second up with this because her wisdom is just nothing short of amazing. So listen in here.
I go to Bible study every Sunday before church. And the past 3 lessons in our book have been about surrender. So it's really no coincidence that this is showing up. It's just really fucking scary.
Yeah. And you know what's also scary too, is because when you begin the process of figuring out how to serve other people in the depth that you're craving, when it changes from trying to perform a service for someone to trying to like do something that is so real and so it matters so much. Like it's a very different energy. The stakes are different. There's much more care that needs to go into every single piece of the process. So that's scary. But then it's also scary because you can't help but do it on yourself.
Yeah.
Like once you start trying to figure out ways to bring that out in other people, you realize how much you very much need to bring it out within yourself. So like those words that you said, capable, authentic, ready, and empowered. This is what we're going to discover in you. What you're capable of as a leader, as a teacher, as a guide, as a mentor, as a coach, whatever word you'd like to apply to it. What makes you capable to do that? Finding that capability in you, having that feel strong enough that you can deliver it and talk about it and feel really brave and strong in it, feel really principled in it, right? That authenticity. How can you sell your services once you get to that part of that chapter? How do you sell with authenticity? How do you feel authentic about what it is that you're offering? How do you feel authentic about the transformation that you're delivering? That's the journey you're on. And the best part is that it's similar to the journey you're going to help other people do. So your personal growth is now your business. Like you going through those difficult things, you looking at where that fear is of failure. Like what's under that? I don't want this to fail. I'm so scared that this is going to fail. This part's going to be hard. This part isn't going to come easy. You doing that work and going there mentally and through our coaching work together is 1000% a piece of the puzzle of you being able to bring that out in other people. You're going to learn how to empower yourself so that you can learn to empower other people through this process. And it doesn't mean that you have to be fully healed, fully, arrived at some vision of a destination before you can help others. But it's the only way to do that role for other people is if you're also working on yourself. It's now that's now entered. It's just become more important. All those things. And everything that currently is like, well, too scared to touch that. Way to mentally just get used to the idea that like, but I'll get you. That over there that you're like, I don't want to even talk about that. I don't want to even it's coming for you because it's a lifelong journey of discovery. That just became your business a little bit. It's like, where can I poke into those things that are scary? So the surrender word is quite plainly placed here in front of you. I think you're going to start to see all kinds of different ways that is showing up for you. And then the readiness for change within you and what you're offering, that readiness process has begun, right? The fact that you've arrived at some of these feelings about that burnout stage and just, it's too much of the same energy that's coming through. There's a radical shift in energy for you to pour more down into one specific path. And listen, you get to decide how you're going to do it. You get to do it on your own terms, in your own way. But there are some things that are on the journey to that right now feel very scary and feel very like that's not for me. And there's a real resistance to certain, to do it in a certain way. But you're walking that path to figure out what that is. And I mean, think back to all the way of you saying like, what I need is to figure out like what I want to do and where I'm going. And like, this is the stuff.
I think I have a newfound love for the word surrender in a non-scary way. Surrender often feels like falling for some people. And I think for me, this word surrender is now coming as a reward almost. Like when you keep surrendering, you keep finding more. And if it's true then that my journey is to find more, then I have to keep surrendering.
This episode, I'm going to be very honest, was really, really hard to put together and really, really hard to listen to because I felt like in some ways I was reliving this again. And I almost feel sad, right, for myself that this was the mindset that I was in. And I know that when I choose to show up to this work with Laura, that I have to do it with my whole self. And I hope that in the next episode, you will really be able to start putting the pieces together with me and understand just how important this word surrender is. It is literally becoming my whole entire being, but in the most beautiful way. And Towards the end of our call, Laura pulled a card, and I'm not sure from what, or I'm not really into all of that, but the words on that card resonated with me. And so I'm sharing them in hopes that this will resonate with you too. And those words will just be an encouragement to you, because they definitely were an encouragement to me. So I'm going to leave you with this.
Earth School. Life lessons, soul growth, study, higher learning. This is the card. She's jumping, she's flying, she's falling down, she is maybe surrendering. Planet Earth is a great initiation for the soul, and life lessons are the curriculum for which we enroll. These aren't one-time lessons, but themes we choose to circle around, deepening our experience of them as we make our way through the spiral of life. Life lessons aren't only about getting it right. They're also about getting it wrong. Remembering that Earth is a planet of polarity helps with this understanding. Each year, the study deepens more and more. If you pull this card while you're going through a difficult time, you're being prompted to remember that your soul came here to learn and grow. Try not to look at difficult times as getting it wrong. Instead, see them as opportunities for soul growth. If you can find a way to soften your heart through the highs and lows, your soul is most definitely growing, which is the whole point. Pulling this card also means that you're being called to embark on a new area of study or growth. This could be through structured learning, such as university, school, or a training course. If you're having difficulties in a relationship, you're being reminded that these opportunities for soul growth, after all, relationships are known as the number one way that we grow as souls while we're here on Earth. The question for you to sit with is, how are you being called to learn or grow?
Thanks for tuning into the show today. If you heard something that helped you, I would love it if you would leave a review and share it with your friends. This helps more people just like you become inspired to move the needle of their big CEO energy into a positive direction. If you would like to learn more about how I can help you streamline and position your business for growth, or lead your business as a CEO, feel free to jump into the show notes with all of the links to find me. And don't forget to head over to Instagram so we can be pals.